Alright, in today's video we crank out another enclosure in the OakWood Zoo, and this time we are building for one of the classics of the original game, the Warthog. These guys' enclosure will go right next to the Red River Hog enclosure, which we built last week, and I'm super proud of how this enclosure came together. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of OakWood Zoo. We are back. I feel so happy to say those words and stuff. Like, it's just, I'm still getting used to like being in the zoo again, and it's just amazing. In today's video, we'll be building the Warthog Enclosure. Now, this enclosure is more of a relatively simple one, and you'll notice I cut out some of the parts of the enclosure, like the backstage area, and I think I might have also cut out the fencing, like putting the chain fence, because I just felt like, number one, we already covered a lot of this, and you saw all of that in the last episode with the pigs, and this enclosure copies a lot of those kind of like styles, and I reused a lot of the pieces from that enclosure because it makes sense that a real zoo would do it like this. It makes sense that you would have two pig enclosures, you would use the same kind of stuff, and you'll see this in the backstage area. The thing I really liked about this is that I connected the shelter for the Warthogs to the shelter for the Red River Hogs, not in the actual building, but now with like, it looks more like a complete compound. You have like one shelter, and then you have this like staircase up to like this kind of concrete area where you have like both pens to each enclosure, and you have a couple planters in there just to fill up the room, and then you have the Warthog shelter to keep if you keep going, and then eventually if you go down that path, you keep going, you will reach the next enclosure, backstage area, the next enclosure in general, which we will build maybe in the next couple weeks. I'm not sure. I am currently building it right now, as I'm recording this, which I'm recording this on Monday, April 7th. I'm hoping that the DLC gets announced tomorrow. I'm really hoping it is. I guess we'll figure it out when the time I'm posting this. But I don't know if I'm going to post that video, the next enclosure, because I think that it might get in the way of, I mean, if I'm releasing this on Friday, then the following Tuesday, hopefully we'll have the DLC and we'll upload a new enclosure then, which I already have good to go, and I am super happy with how it turned out. If there's ever a OakWood Zoo episode that I would want you to check out, it would be that one. Because this one is relatively, like, I've seen that the last couple episodes of this one and the Red River enclosure, we've kind of been like following the same kind of styles, but the next enclosure is something that I truly took in like inspiration from like real life zoos that I've seen, because I went back through my pictures from the Bronx Zoo and the Central Park Zoo and the Miami Zoo, which I've gone to recently about like last month, and putting those all together and into one cool enclosure. I'm not gonna spoil what it is yet, but I am very excited for that enclosure because it looks amazing, and I have shared some shots of it on like the forums and also on Discord, but I just can't wait for you guys to see it, because that is one of my favorite enclosures. It could potentially be my favorite enclosure ever. But yeah, that episode is going out next week, and I am super excited for that. I really hope you guys check it out. I'm not gonna say I'm disappointed with the last episode, but the last episode didn't get as, I feel like we've kind of on a decline lately with like the Planet Zoo speed build episodes. We've gotten like under 1,000 views per one, which is not necessarily bad, but we've also seen the last two episodes get like around like 500 views, which is, it's still good, but it's still not as kind of like relevant or most engaging as some of the other episodes. Not sure what the cause of that is. I've tried to like, in the last episode I put out like a bunch of the things like TikToks and Reels and stuff about that. I put a YouTube short out advertising it, and it still didn't really hit the peak I was looking for, but I'm hoping that was just like a hiccup. I'm really hoping. I don't know how, I'm not necessarily like a pro with like the algorithm or anything on YouTube, so I'm hoping it's something like a fluke in that, or I'm just kind of experimenting more with like how the tags and stuff affect how the stuff gets recommended to you guys. But regardless, I am trying to figure that out, and I'm at a point now, we have the OakWood Zoo back. I'm not as concerned with like views and stuff. Obviously it's nice for the channel to grow, but I'm more excited about just what we're building, because I really want to like get into and grind the OakWood Zoo and making it as many enclosures as I can, obviously with the same level of quality, with not rushing. But yeah, anyway, we're gonna go back to the enclosure here. We're talking about that a little bit. So the Warthogs, something I actually have not built for, I don't think. About 6 months after I lost the zoo, a year and a half ago, I got back into the zoo, and I was like, okay, cool, we're great, we're back in, and then I just started building a Warthog enclosure, and then like the next time I logged in, it crashed. So this is something I was planning, and you'll see that with a lot of the enclosures coming up. These are animals that I've always wanted to plan like for the zoo, and these are animals that I have planned for the zoo and have plans for where I want them to go and everything. So I do have a plan, and I will probably share that with you guys at some point in the future when we do like a tour of this. to kind of get you guys caught up on the stuff. Of course, if you want to get caught up before then, you can go check out a bunch of the OakWood Zoo episodes. There are a couple tours lodged in there somewhere, so you can go check that out. Again, not everything is going to be the same, but it will generally be the same layout. But Warthog Enclosure. So I think the main takeaway with this enclosure is definitely the landscaping and definitely the outdoor area compared to the Red River Hog Enclosure. Now the Red River Hog Enclosure, we did a lot more like a forest kind of area. We had like the pond in the middle, then we had a bunch of trees, and then lots of grass and greens and lush colors. In this enclosure you do still have that, but it's a lot more like brown and muddy because obviously it's warthogs. It's going to be different from the Red River Hogs. But with this enclosure I put the trees, I tried to make the trees a bit further back. I put one in the very corner of the enclosure and the other one behind like a cool like rock kind of cliffy kind of thing to make it feel a bit more open to the public. And I feel like it really worked. I always loved doing like the mud pit kind of things and kind of putting those into the ground and putting rocks around it and stuff because it makes it look so cool and so natural. Basically you would put in a mud pit first to start and then bring up the terrain around the barriers of that to make it kind of look more fitting with the ground, and then put some rock piles around it, your trees, your foliage, to make it really look as lush as possible, and also some branches. Branches were definitely a heavy inspiration for this enclosure. I used lots of branches. I know I had a couple templates from like the petting zoo, the Oakwood petting zoo, so I used those, and also just the regular like African branches, and the dead trees. So yeah, I honestly brought the enclosure pretty well together, and it looks really nice. That's honestly the main takeaway from this enclosure. A lot of the other stuff is relatively similar to the Red River Hog enclosure. I definitely tried to change a bit. I changed the roofing things. I moved like the AC and the vents around on the top. The pens I've connected and interlocked with the Red River Hog enclosure, so those are nice. I mean, it looks almost like one complete area now. And then I also kind of reshuffled the backstage area. I will show the backstage area in the cinematic shots, but it looks generally the same. I just kind of shuffled around the tables and stuff. It's all leveled, not like last time where we had like two different floor elevations. But yeah, overall, that's honestly a really nice enclosure. It's almost kind of like a filler enclosure to me because the Warthog is not one that screams like very unique and like it's not a super new addition or anything like that, but it's a nice filler one. It's one that you would see commonly in zoos, and this is still a zoo that I want to keep small, even though so far it is working currently with like me deleting a bunch of stuff from before and like fixing things with the graphics and everything. That is working completely fine, but I still don't want to take any chances. I don't want to make the zoo unnecessarily big, so I want to make sure I fill in all the parts that are necessary. I want to fill in the middle because that's where you're obviously going to want to look first. You want to have a complete middle section of the zoo, and then from there we can expand outwards. So the main thing I want to do next for the zoo, aside from the DLC stuff, because we're going to be building for the DLC animals, and I am honestly really excited for that because I already have one enclosure done for them, and I already have a bunch of plans for at least a couple more of them. But I also, aside from that, I want to build a lot for Africa because the African section is something that is very major in zoos around the world because that is more commonly the biggest section of zoos in general. So I want to include some new animals. I originally in the plans had an idea for the cats of Africa, or the cats of Africa, which would basically be an area with just kind of like netting enclosures. We would have the caracal, the serval if we got it, the sand cat, and then also maybe include some of the dogs as well. So have like, or even like the cheetah could also work in that cat section. That would be a really nice one to have. And then also have some dogs like the striped hyena, which is one I really want to build for, but I never got around to it. So many cool things to build for. I'm very excited. I will say, out of the DLC animals that we have so far, that I know so far, the 5 of them, the one that I'm probably not going to build for, like the least likely, is probably the coyote, just because I don't really feel like it's necessary in the zoo. Again, it would be nice to have, but again, I'm trying to keep things at like a crucial kind of level, and either ones that I really want to build for, or ones that I just don't think would really need to be in the zoo. I do have ideas for the bighorn sheep, the rhea, and also the American flamingo. So those 3 are definitely ones I have ideas for, and the Saki, of course, because that is just my favorite ever. And I'm gonna promise I'm not gonna give it the baboon syndrome. I know I said that I was really excited for the baboon, and I never built for it. We will still build for it, I promise. But I'm not gonna let that happen with the Saki. I'm not gonna like say I can say it's my favorite and not build for it. But yeah, overall, I think that's really it. All I have to say about this enclosure. It's kind of like it's almost like a shorter episode, and I did make this a bit shorter than the last episode because it's just a very similar one to that. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, cinematic shots at the end, as always. Also, as far as Prehistoric Kingdom content, because I know I haven't been an update in that game in a hot second in terms of our building and stuff, I don't know when I'm going to get back to it. I'm currently really focused and like locked in on Planet Zoo, so I don't really want to change that drastically. I did have something already kind of built, but I still have more to add on to it, so I don't know when I'm going to get back to that and finish that. But I'm hoping it's going to be soon, so I'm hoping that you guys will be patient with that. Again, there is a 6-month gap probably. If we do get another Planet Zoo pack, which I honestly think we do, there's still probably going to be a 6-month gap between this pack and the next pack. So even after we're done all building for all these new DLC animals, we're still going to have a lot of time to build for like Prehistoric Kingdom stuff. So definitely going to have lots of time for that. But yeah. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say about stuff. I hope you all enjoyed the rest of the speed build, enjoyed the cinematic shots at the end of the video. If you did enjoy the video, if you enjoy OakWood Zoo and you want to see more projects, because I really hope you guys stick around for the next projects, because they are some of my favorite projects I've ever built, so I really hope you guys see them. And if you want to make sure that you see them, please hit the subscribe button, because that means you will get notified the next time I upload, and you will be supporting the channel, and it's completely free. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys, have a good rest of your day.